At that time, I heard the sudden sound of someone trying to force the locked door open, and my heart leapt. Oh, it was unlocked. The voice was Hideyoshi's. I heard that quiet voice as though he was talking to himself, coming from what was probably the hallway. Apparently he had thought that it was locked and tried to unlock it, but it ended up locking the unlocked door instead. Once again there was a sound of the lock turning, and now the door opened with a faint sound. Why is Hideyoshi-san in this room? Footsteps that sounded like his came in, and there was the sound of him closing and locking the door behind him. Then came what seemed to be the sound of him setting the chain. Don't tell me Hideyoshi-san is the mastermind, or else an accomplice. Is he planning to do something to me in this room? It would take some time to unlock the door from this side, much less remove the chain. If Hideyoshi-san doesn't intend to let me escape from here, he won't give me enough time to undo the chain. In that case, if he opens the closet door and sees me crouching here pathetically, just what kind of fearsome words will he say? I don't want to be found, I don't want to be found, I beg you, pass right on by the closet door, please. Keep going into the center of the room. My head was so filled with a throbbing sound that it felt like it was about to explode, and I almost missed hearing his noisy footsteps. So when I heard a clunking sound coming from the center of the room, I finally realized that he'd passed by the closet and was deeply relieved. Just in case. In this weather, it's pretty much night out there anyway. As he whispered, he did something that made a clunking sound. He was probably closing the shutters on the windows, just in case. In case I try to escape out the window? No, that can't be it. That's right, when I left the parlor, everyone was talking about possibly taking a break. After all, several murders have occurred, and the weather's bad. There'd be nothing abnormal if someone chose to rest in a guest room here instead of returning to the guest house. In that case, locking up and closing the shutters to guarantee safety is the proper course of action to take. When he finished closing the shutters, there was a thunk as though he'd flopped over on the bed. It was surprising how much of the situation could be grasped just by the sound. What's going on here? Did the man from 19 years ago plan all this out to put me in the same room as Hideyoshi-san? No, that probably isn't true. He probably planned on me hiding here, but Hideyoshi-san coming to take a rest here must have been outside the scope of his plan. Thinking about it that way, having him in the room might be odd, but it also might guarantee my own safety. Unlike his wife, Hideyoshi-san is the kind of person I can talk to. If Ava-san comes, things will probably get complicated. Maybe I should slip out of the closet now while he's still alone. Reveal everything to just him and ask for help. But if I do that, my husband might be killed. Until my husband is released, I shouldn't do anything rash. Should I go out and talk or hide in here? Moaning from my headache and biting my lower lip, I resisted the urge to crawl out of here. Even if I talk with Hideyoshi-san, I don't know where my husband is being held. I'm sure the trader who's observing me is nearby. Just talking to him won't solve everything. I suspect that Shannon is the traitor, but that's no proof that Goda and the others aren't. It's all useless. I guess leaving here and confessing is too dangerous after all. Eventually I heard a strange, sobbing voice. Whose voice is it? I strained my ears trying to hear that strange voice, and was shocked to discover that it was Hideyoshi's weeping. Hideyoshi, who had lost his only son, was finally able to shed tears and cry. Now that he was all alone like this, thinking that he needed to support Ava in her distress, he acted as though he alone was standing firm. However, he has a good right to cry. He has as good a right to cry as anyone, and now that he's found a place where no one can see his tears, he finally let himself do it. And I've lost my daughter. I haven't seen her corpse with my own eyes, so it still doesn't feel like she's dead. But if the one who carried her off was the culprit, and he had some repulsive motive for doing it, just thinking about it makes it feel as though my chest will tear itself apart. The reason I'm hiding in here now is that I'm thinking more about my still living husband than my dead daughter, but if I were given the chance, I'd be wailing at the top of my lungs too. However, I still cannot let myself do that. It isn't because the man from 19 years ago told me to hide. It's because I'm the final head of the Ushiromia family. It's been completely overshadowed by the recent uproar, but last night Battler-kun found the hidden gold and even gained the head's ring from the mysterious envelope. At the very, very end, when it's all over, I probably won't be able to prevent his ascension as the head, and when everything regarding the distribution of the inheritance is revealed, the Ushiromia family honor and glory passed down from father will plummet to the earth. So, I am the final head. Battler-kun will probably inherit the remaining wealth of the Ushiromia family. However, its history and honor will all end with my generation. Therefore, I am the final head. I must not cry, not yet, until I get my husband back and avenge my daughter. I will not be allowed to shed tears. In the closet, I silently hung my head as I listened to Hideyoshi-san's sobs. Who are you? Huh? My heart leapt. I heard a sound that must have been Hideyoshi-san, who had probably been lying prostrate on the bed, bounding to his feet. Did he notice me? How did you get in here? What's that? Wait a sec. Wait. He was clearly in a struggle with someone. Who on earth could it be? No, it doesn't matter who it is. It's probably the culprit, and they're probably trying to take Hideyoshi-san's life. Shouldn't I jump out of here and help him? If I can't help him, shouldn't I call for help? No, but if I do something like that, I'll be questioned about why I was hiding here. However, if Hideyoshi-san gets killed like this... No, now isn't the time to be saying that. At this rate, he'll certainly be killed. I'll jump out of here and help him right now. But if I do that, even if I can save Hideyoshi-san, I might be abandoning my husband's life. Hideyoshi-san's life and my husband's life. How sinful it would be to try and weigh those against each other. At that time, there was a loud sound as the door opened and the chain was pulled tight. Someone was trying to open the door despite the chain being set. Dear, it's me. So it means that the whole time we came inside, even before we were here, someone else has been in here the whole time, doing a better job of hide and seek. Dear, it's me. Could you open up? Ava. Dear? What? What's happening? Dear? Open up. Open up. Open up, dear. So someone... She opened and closed the door over and over with all her might, but of course she couldn't snap the chain. Ava called for help in a loud voice and raced through the hallway. By this time, the room had settled back into silence, and that earlier sense of Hideyoshi being in a noisy struggle had disappeared completely. What's going on here? So right now I'm in the same room as the murderer who killed Hideyoshi-san. In that case, the culprit should try to escape from the room as soon as possible. So why are they hiding in here? I haven't heard anything. Nothing that might have been the culprit who attacked Hideyoshi-san rushing away. No matter how much I strain my ears, I can't sense anyone in the room. In fact, it's so silent that it makes what happened just a second ago feel like an illusion. In other words, does this mean that the culprit is hiding his breath, standing just outside this closet, waiting for me to stumble out? I don't even know what I should be scared of anymore. If only I could just melt away into the darkness of this closet. I mustn't remain in this room any longer. I get the feeling I have more to worry about than just my personal safety. But what should I do? I don't even know if it's a good idea to leave this closet. Eventually the clamor of... I feel like that word should be C-L-A-M-O-U-R? I don't know. of many rushing footsteps approached. I'll hold my breath again and nod away into the darkness of the closet. Ava dashed back, bringing everyone with her. Goda was gripping some wire cutters to cut the chain with. After trying to open the door again and confirming that the chain was still set, she yelled through the crack in the door, "Dear, we're going to open this up. Cut it right now." Yes, Goda stuck the large wire cutter, which looked like it could slice off a whole finger, through the crack of the door and easily severed the chain. "Dear!" As soon as it was severed, Ava pushed Goda aside and dashed in. The others tried to follow her, but they bumped into Ava, who had fallen to her knees, moaning. So even though they couldn't tell much of what was going on inside the room, they could tell by Ava's moans that they were too late. What the hell? "Dear! Dear! Dr. Nanjo!" "Look at my husband, quickly." I'll do it right now." "You've got to be kidding me. It's only been about 10 minutes since Uncle Hideyoshi went out saying he wanted to rest. Is there anyone in the bathroom?" "No, there's no one here. What could have happened? Dear, dear." "I'm afraid to say that there's nothing I can do." Nanjo stood up, hanging his head sadly. It was only natural, because anyone, even if they weren't a doctor, would think that at a glance. Hideyoshi was lying face down on the bed, and stuck deep into his back was something like a blade with an intricate, demonic design on it. When Ava pulled it out with all of her might, they could tell that it wasn't a blade but some kind of stake, and its sharp tip had penetrated nearly 15 centimeters in. It was probably dug deep into the lungs. If it had been stuck in any harder, the tip might even have pierced all the way through to the surface of his chest. "Didn't I tell you to wait for me? Why did you go on alone? Stupid, stupid, stupid." Wah. The culprit probably waited for us to get careless and split up. That bastard. So he still hasn't had enough blood. So he really is hiding somewhere in this mansion and coming after us. But there's something strange here. The doors and windows to this room are completely sealed. That's right. The shutters are all shut, and the door chain was set until a second ago. Huh? But that's crazy. In that case, how did the culprit attack Hideyoshi-san in this room? Maybe they threw the stake through the crack in the door. Hideyoshi-san's bed is in a total blind spot from this crack. You couldn't even kill him with a gun. This really is strange. It's a closed-room murder. A closed-room murder? It's a bit too early to be sure about that. Maybe he removed the ceiling in the bathroom and escaped to the space above it, or maybe you can close the shutters from outside. The shutters? They didn't budge an inch from the outside. I just went and checked. Erica? It's no wonder everything felt so quiet and relaxed. At some point, Erica had split from the group. Just now, she had finally arrived and poked her face in from the hallway. When she heard that a crime had occurred in this room, she had watched everyone rush toward the room but circled around to the outer wall herself. She had gone all by herself to check the shutter was down on the window, that you couldn't do anything with it from the outside, that there was nothing of the out of the ordinary. Is the inside of the room just like the usual? There's no need to say it like that. My deepest condolences. So, what's the situation inside the room? The chain was set on the door, so we cut it and entered. And all the windows have the shutters down. They're locked tight from the inside. What are they bickering about in there? Ava was arguing with Nanjo about something. Apparently she wanted to carry the corpse to the parlor. Nanjo tried to calm her, saying that they should leave the crime scene as untouched as possible until the police come. What happened to the other corpses? That is a good point. We actually should bring the corpse with us then. The culprit carried them off somewhere, right? It may be that the culprit isn't satisfied with just killing, but intends to do something with the corpses. So no way we're leaving my husband all alone here. Ava does have a point. After all, the victims before now have all been carried away after we were shown their terrible wounds. Erica-chan, you'd probably like to preserve the crime scene, but could you just let this one slide? Do whatever you want. All I'm interested in is the fact that a closed-room murder has appeared. That's much more serious than Kinzo-san's study. I have no interest in corpses, so do as you please. Battler's expression was clearly unhappy, but she ignored him completely. Feel free to carry that corpse out any time, or am I in the way? Erica backed away from the door to open a path. She showed no trace of any sadness for the dead. Her eyes simply blazed with thoughts of this closed-room murder that had appeared. In any event, the great detective had given her permission. Ava and some others wrapped Hideyoshi up in some sheets, and Goda and Rudolph carried him out. The sheets were quickly stained red. It was so painful to see that Shannon and Kumasawa stripped the blanket off the bed to further cover the corpse. Hey, out of the way. Yes, I am out of the way. Let's go to the parlor.